and we are going to be discussing all things chills, thrills, and kills. Kate and I are going to be talking about our favorite books, TV shows, and movies that are in the thriller or crime fiction genre, as well as some reading habits and other items related to how we met on Bookstagram that will fit in with this podcast. So, thank you so much for joining us, and we hope that you have fun and get totally terrified. What are you reading?
What am I reading? I am reading I'm Not Done With You Yet.
Oh, that's right. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're going to really like that.
Wow. Just wow. It is up
Twisty.
my alley in all
Yeah, it
kinds of
is.
ways.
Yeah, it is. Um, yeah, you're going to like that. It's
Mm-hmm.
definitely like there's very good like female characters in it.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're very well written.
I'm minorly concerned by how much I love and feel like I relate to sociopath characters in books, but we're not gonna look at that too hard.
I think there's always like a situation in everybody's life, unless you're like completely a Disney character,
Yeah.
that will make you relate to. Like, how many people related to Amy in Gone Girl?
Yeah.
You know?
It is like just like getting in touch with like the shadow side of yourself that like has those thoughts.
Yeah. 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 There's a little bit in there
Oh, it's so
for
fun.
everybody.
It's so fun. It might coincidentally be one that keeps me up all night.
Well,
Mm-hmm.
speaking of that, welcome to today's topic, motherfuckers.
Welcome, everybody.
Um, so I found this on Instagram. You had already liked it, so I like knew
Nice.
that you were going to be into it. But basically, I sent Kate a screenshot. Dutton Books put up something on their Instagram that was like, tell us the last book that dot dot dot, and gives you 5 options. So we were like, hey, this would be fun to do. So shout out to Dutton for
Yeah.
giving us the idea. Um, and it says, I love their caption, book hangovers are temporary. Our want to read list is forever.
If that is
So
not the truth, I don't know what is.
yeah, yeah. So first up on the list is tell us the book that made you stay up all night. Ladies first.
I'll go. Well, the most recent one was one that we keep kind of talking about, The Flash Girls by J.M. Cannon.
Mm-hmm.
And it was one of those where like Tyler was gone and it was just noisy enough in our house that like some of the descriptions of the crime scenes were just freaking me out.
Yep.
So that's probably part of why it kept me awake, because like otherwise I typically struggle to ever stay up past 10:30. This one though, I think it scared me a little bit enough to keep me awake. But it's basically about a girl who, well, she's a woman-ish now, a young woman. Why am I struggling with that? Um,
A womanish.
who her friend went missing. Um, and she believes she was the third one to go missing after having her photograph taken, like a flash photo, when she was walking home one night, and then like within a week or two, 3 of these girls disappeared that way. And that's really all you need to know. Oh, there's also a hurricane on its way. It takes
Yeah.
place in Charleston, South Carolina. So there's also a hurricane happening that like might wash away all of the evidence that she's starting to find. So lots of tension.
That was a really good book. That was a really
Yeah,
fun read. Yeah. I love that one. And
I
she
liked it a
like
lot.
the creepy scenes like kind of being parallel to this big storm hitting
Yeah,
was like on point. So
yeah, I loved it.
yeah, yeah. Well, speaking of serial killers, naturally.
Nice.
um I do have a theme. Mine are all male romances because I'm in that era. But The Murder Between Us by Tal Bauer, oh my God. Oh my God. So it's just so good. It's so good. Um, there's an FBI agent named Noah Downing who has like always kind of questioned his sexuality and finds himself at a conference in Vegas. And he's like, you know, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, or so he thinks. So he basically ends up having his first sexual encounter with a man. But then the very next morning, he is called back to Iowa with the FBI because a serial killer that he was hunting that went dormant 6 years ago has resurfaced. And as if things couldn't get worse, when he goes to the task force meeting, the FBI profiler is none other than the man that he slept with in Vegas. So they have to kind of like deal with their intense chemistry as well as like join forces in trying to hunt down the co-ed killer.
The co-ed killer.
So good. It's so good. The thing that I love about this is it's like not just like, oh, they're gonna like bang, 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 and then like, oh, there's a serial killer, bang, 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 bang. So this guy, I really like that. Like, this is definitely like a police procedural and a
You
thriller
said it's
that
like
you would,
action packed.
yeah, yeah. And there is a sequel, so there's two of them. The second one's
Mm,
called The Grave Between Us, but I like that it is a police procedural and more like a thriller that you would expect, but it just
mm-hmm.
has two men in love instead of like the FBI profiler being like a woman and the FBI agent being a man and you know like all that stuff.
Yeah,
So it is more heavy on the thriller police procedural aspect, but like you're still rooting for their relationship.
I love that. You've
I
sold
love
me again.
love them. I love them so
Oh,
much. Cole and Noah.
Cole and Noah, your new faves.
Yeah. And if that doesn't sell people like enough, I read this and the sequel, and then I immediately went
Mhm.
to Amazon and I ordered 5 more Tal Bauer books.
Yes, you're a
So
full fan now.
I'm like about ready to get to that tattoo.
One day you will get a tattoo of something.
Oh my God. I just like have no idea. I feel like it'd be bad luck if I got a bookish tattoo because like
Mhm.
what if like you get like a book tattoo of like an author that you love and then they do something super problematic?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Not that
Needs
any
to
of the
be
authors
just
like
book related, but not
yeah,
author related. Yeah.
yeah. Like it would just have to be like a book with like your face on one cover and my face on one cover because like we in this for life.
Yes. I think that one would be okay. That
Me
one would be
too.
safe.
Yeah, yeah. So so yeah, I highly recommend my recommendation for that and yours because they were both like so fucking binge worthy.
Yes.
Um, but our next pick is tell us the last book that you think everyone should read.
So mine is The Push. Oh my God. So mine is The Push by Ashley Audrain. Um, oh my gosh, I loved it so much. It's pretty much about a woman who she is a new mom and has a daughter, but as the daughter ages, there's some stuff that she starts doing where she's kind of like, I don't know if my daughter's okay. She seems kind of dangerous at times, is what it starts to escalate into. And her husband doesn't believe her the whole time. And then they have another kid, a baby boy, and her experience is like the exact opposite. And she loves him so much and feels so connected to him. And she's like, it solidifies her belief that something is wrong with her other child. And things just keep escalating and escalating and escalating. And it has very much the vibes of like gaslighting the, or is it called Gaslight is what the movie was called, like the story
Mm-hmm.
that literally created the term. It has a lot of those vibes where it's like someone is not wanting to believe something and your main character is like, but we need to do something about it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's just very, can you hear him?
Like barely.
Okay, I'll just keep talking then.
Not enough to
It
drown you out.
Okay, good. Um, it was so immersive, and you're like so nervous with the main character Blythe like the entire time. And I just like it was so hard to put it down ever.
Yeah, it's like a literary thriller version of
Yeah.
like The Omen.
Yeah.
So
The
like
orphan. No.
The Omen
Oh
with
no,
the
you're right. I was
little
I was
boy
getting
Damien.
crossed. Yes. Yep.
Yeah,
Hmm.
but also The Orphan.
I know. I was like, wait a second.
Yeah.
I was like
Any
thinking
horror
two things.
thriller that you love with like a somewhat evil child or seemingly evil
Yes.
child, like this is up your alley. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that book. I love that book. She's an
I
amazing
loved it so
storyteller.
much. She's so good. It was one where I got a copy of The Whispers, and because I interviewed her. So I read that one first, and then I was like, wow, I really enjoyed that. And then I read The Push, and I think I like it more. I think it's technically my favorite of the two.
Yeah, yeah, I would agree. I would agree with that. 100%. 100%. Yeah, it was so
Hmm.
good. And the ending is just jaw dropping.
It's amazing. It's so good.
Well, my next pick is not about dropping jaws, but dropping draws.
Oh, that's the best segue you've done ever.
The book I think everyone should read. I have my certain tropes in romance or stuff. Like I love like academia or dark academia. So Kismet by Ashley James is like, I wish everybody would read this book. The gold foil. I mean, like, come on. Ugh,
It's beautiful.
beautiful.
I
And
love shiny things.
there's also not safe for work artwork inside
Oh
here.
yeah, this is that one.
Yeah, she sent some postcards. So props to my girl Ashley James. But
Hmm.
um Kismet is basically about a guy who has a sexual relationship with his college professor, and they start to develop feelings for one another, and then the professor just like ghosts him like out of nowhere. And 5 years later, like the guy is moving for a teaching position at a college and shows up, and the dean is none other than his old professor that had ghosted him. So it's kind of like lovers to enemies to lovers.
Yeah.
And there's like a very like emotional backstory with one of them, and just like seeing their relationship like develop basically twice, like second chance
Hmm.
romance.
Yeah.
It's so good. And it's so like character
Oh,
driven.
I love that.
Oh my God. It's just the best.
You do your other trope is like the have sex with who you think is a stranger and then they're important in your life trope.
Girl, that's just my life. That's just my life at this point.
Yeah.
I think my
That's a good
trope with
reason.
male romance is fuck anybody because you never know what kind of role they'll leave in your life.
Well, yeah, that's definitely your
Any and
trope.
everyone. Yeah.
Oh my god.
just just bang everyone. Oh my God, I love it.
I
Um,
know.
so what was the last book you read that inspired you to get into a new genre?
Well, yeah, I know. What is Kate gonna say?
Who are you gonna talk about?
So it's like the thing is, you guys are gonna know if you've listened, but I just haven't gone out this far. Like I haven't gone outside of my genres other than this for the most part. So
Hmm.
Evelyn Hugo, well, The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo was the first like not thriller or suspenseful at all fiction that I read.
Yeah.
And obviously it turned out very well for me.
Yes.
Um so it definitely opened me up to a different genre. And I do think it kind of like all of her books collectively then also just kind of reminded me that like or not reminded me, showed me that like I love a females being bad bitches in places they weren't supposed to be storyline. So it got me into all kinds of specific genres. But for anyone who doesn't know what Evelyn Hugo is about, there is a writer, a journalist who is basically she's working and gets a call that this mega famous movie star from like the beginnings of Hollywood, the 50s, 60s, wants her to do a retrospective on her. And she's like, I don't know why she wants me, but she goes and basically listens to her story of like what her life was actually like being that mega famous, like what the public thought versus what was actually happening. And that's all you really need to know.
That's all
But
you need to
Evelyn,
know.
but Evelyn's a fucking badass, and
Badass.
the characters are just so real. And it was the first book I cried really hard in as well. Because I don't really cry in thrillers. I've had like I'll
I
get
don't cry in books.
teary every now and then. Something might be touching enough that my eyes
Yeah.
water, but I don't cry the way I cried in Taylor Jenkins Reid books. The only
She
ones that
just
do
grabs
that.
you.
Yep. The endings are typically a lot to handle.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that with her. I thought the
Mm-hmm.
same thing. The thing I love about Evelyn Hugo
Mm-hmm.
is how, even though it's not a thriller, the pacing reads like a thriller.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
there are some like twists and turns and reveals in the
And review,
story that
yeah.
like I'm like, damn, girl, like,
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
there's one huge reveal at the end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. There was a
Yep.
lot
That does feel
happening
like a
that
thriller.
yes. Yep. Uh-huh.
That's so good.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
mean, in the sense that she was like up against odds, that I think that's some of why the pacing is similar. Because like thrillers have so much tension and like you're typically like fighting against a certain force. And I think that's probably another reason it feels that way. She
That's a
was
good
like
point.
fighting for her life to be the way she wanted it to be.
So good.
Yeah.
So good. Well, since I'm on my male romance journey of all
Mm-hmm.
types, we've talked about murder, hot professors. Let's talk about hockey.
Definitely
What?
need some hockey.
This is the first male romance book that I read that I was like, okay, this is like going to be all I want to read for the rest of my life. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so good. It's called Him by Serena Bowen and Elle Kennedy. It takes place about an hour and a half from my house in Lake Placid, New
Mm-hmm.
York. So I like just could get like such a vibe from it, and like they just like really captivated like upstate New York summer, and amazing. But
Mm-hmm.
um it is about a hockey player named Jamie, and Jamie and his best friend on their last night of attending hockey summer camp, something happened that they thought was just drunken foolishness, and then they parted ways and didn't speak to each other ever again, and they were best friends. So then they are reunited at the same camp as like, what would you call it, like coaches basically, like for
Mm-hmm.
the kids attending. So they're
Mm-hmm.
reunited, and like they're kind of like, why the fuck did you like ghost me? Like we were besties, and the other guy's like, you know why? And then there's just like they're stuck, like so it's like forced proximity.
Yeah.
I just love it. And there is a sequel called Us.
Oh, I love the one word
Ah, me
kind of
too.
just pronouns.
I am also a sucker, like a huge sucker for the cartoonish characters that don't have a face. I don't know what it is about them not having a
Mm,
face, but
interesting. It's more mysterious.
it really, really fucking reels me in. But
Maybe
yes,
it's also because then it doesn't influence how you would cast it in your head. You can imagine it as anyone.
yeah, or like I also like feel like sometimes you like meet
Mm-hmm.
a character, and this is just like all genres, but like sometimes you meet a
Mm-hmm.
character and like they just like only give you a feel for their personality. Like they're not like, oh, this guy's like brown hair, 6'2",
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. Like this little guy, like you can tell he's got some scruff, he's got his tattoos,
Yes.
biceps, he's tall, he's perfect and beautiful, and I love him.
Yes. He has biceps.
Yes. Yeah. Those biceps. Oh my God. Let me tell you what. That tattoo, it's a workout. Let's just put it that way. So yes. Um, but now I'm very curious for this next one because our fourth topic is the book that made you cry for hours. And I'm very curious because I thought your choice was going to be Evelyn Hugo by
Yeah.
Taylor Jenkins Reid. Like if you would have told me to bet money on it, I would have bet money on it and just lost my ass here
Hmm.
on national television.
Well, you're not totally far off if it helps, because Daisy Jones and the Six was kind of like, you go, see? That was, I was like, both of those could probably be interchangeable, but then I was like, oh, I read Evelyn first, so it's gonna be the one that like introduced me to a new genre. I
Mm-hmm.
cried in every single one of her books except Malibu Rising. I don't think I cried in that one, but Carrie Soto, Daisy Jones and the Six, and Evelyn Hugo, like big tears at the end of all of those books. And Daisy Jones and the Six is about, coincidentally, a band named The Six and an artist named Daisy Jones. Back in the 60s and kind of the 70s. Um, the basically the rock scene at that point. And she meets their band, and she and the lead singer like have great musical chemistry, and their band starts to get more successful. But you're basically, the fun part is that you're hearing the story as told through a documentary. So we're decades into the future, and the people are talking about their time, um, like in the band together, and how the rise and fall of it, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of the cool narrative devices is that she points out how everyone's perspective can be vastly different. So it's like even their perspectives of certain things don't always line up in their individual memories, but it's loosely based off, it's inspired by Fleetwood Mac and Stevie Nicks, obviously, as like Daisy Jones. And it's just amazing. It's fantastic. It's about overcoming your demons. It's about like found family and like unique love. And it made me cry a lot at the end.
I've never
And the
cried during a
TV
book.
series was so good.
I've heard
Mm-hmm.
it too. I love Riley Keough.
I wept through like the finale episode was amazing. I think it's the best book adaptation I've ever seen.
Oh my God.
Definitely the best one. Up there with like Where the Crawdads Sing.
Well, that was really good. I didn't read the book,
Yeah.
but it was a fantastic movie.
Yeah. It was very true to the book.
Because my mom took my book and she never gave it back to me.
I know. Evil. Evil.
Evil. Evil. But
You'll
I
never
can't say
know
anything.
where the crawdads sing now.
I know. I can't say anything because thanks to my mom, oh, excuse me, who was very helpful with Murphy, I was
Oh
able to
yeah.
read in one day the 450-page Odyssey, Follow the River by C.E. Ricci. Is book one of two. And I've never cried during a book, but if I were to cry, this would have been the book that made me. There were like a lot of parts where I was like, that fucking hit. That hurts
Oh
when it hit.
yeah.
Like it's really good. Um, so it's basically about two college football players. Um, one of which has like he's like new to campus The other one is openly bisexual and like gives zero fucks, but like they keep bumping heads like hardcore. And like the coach is like, you are our two strongest players. You need to get your shit together. So, in a total twist of events, the coach happens to have a cabin in the middle of nowhere in Vail, Colorado. And he's like, you boys are going to the cabin and you're going to work your shit out. You guys are going to be the only two people there stuck together for 5 weeks.
I
And
see
I
where this is.
just, yeah. And I mean, I was like, ooh, this is getting good. Like, I love like
Uh-huh.
college settings in male romances as much as I do thrillers. And then
Yeah.
like having like forced proximity and like enemies to lovers and the backstory to the character Rain fucked me
Yeah.
up. Like I was like reading
Oh.
it, like immediately got the feeling where like there was all the saliva in my mouth and I was like, am I going to throw up? Because I'm like very upset right now.
Ooh,
I didn't
wow.
cry. I think my tear ducts might be like a little broken. Like I didn't cry, but like
It just went to your mouth.
if I was a crier, it just my tongue works, but not my eyes. But like if I was a crier or anything, then this
Yeah.
is what would have made me. And I think it would make an amazing series.
Oh,
It was so good.
I
A
love
lot of trigger
I
warnings.
love finding a book that is so good that I want to devour it in one day like that.
Yes. Yeah. And I actually read the sequel in a day. But my only thing is, here's what I really respect about her is
Uh-huh.
there's like something in the beginning of this book that
Uh-huh.
basically like in her own words is like there are a lot of trigger warnings with this book and the sequel. So like if you have any, message me or anyone who's read this
Mm.
book to find out what they are and see if this might not be what like is a good fit for you.
Mhm.
I love like first of all like being like okay like DM me like you bought my book like my DMs are open. I love that because
Mhm.
my thing with trigger warnings I feel like is I think sometimes they spoil the plot.
I know. Yeah, I
So
agree.
I love that she had that in in the very beginning of the book.
I know.
Um
I think it's something like if you know you're not concerned about any trigger warning, it's like you don't really want to read the trigger warnings.
yeah,
Obviously, if you're concerned about it, I totally understand it, but I like her approach with that.
yeah. And she kind of has like well I mean obviously there's a sequel like it's already out and whatnot but
Mhm.
um she has like a note from the author in the end of it that's really cool where it's like I know you're probably feeling a lot right now but the story's not over and like she like alludes to like how the book ends and like she's like I would love to apologize to you but I'm not a liar like I wanted you to like
Oh,
crave more with these characters. She's
yeah.
just amazing and she's super sweet.
Oh
My
my
first
gosh.
interaction with her was me DMing her like I fucking love this book with all of my heart, all capitals. And she's
Yes.
like, "Well, hello to you too, Gare." And she's like, "I'm really glad you're enjoying it."
Oh,
And like she's just super sweet. Um
oh, I love that.
so yes, I am obsessed with like this is going to be my personality for the next
For a
lifetime.
while. I
Yeah,
get it.
very long time.
That's me with The Traitor that I just read. That is the second
Yes.
Emma Make piece.
Ugh.
I my whole personality will be spy for about a month or two.
And I'm going to be trying to find as many male romances that are still thrillers.
Yes.
So,
Because we also finished Jack Ryan, so I really am just I'm in a spy era. I'm in my spy era.
yeah.
You're in your male romance era,
Oh my
romance
God.
thriller
Well,
era.
I texted you. I was like, do I just
Mhm.
start a second Instagram or do I just like kind of keep both on? Because I feel like a lot of people are
Yeah,
like, oh, like we love your thriller recommendations. And like right now, like you're not going to see anything thriller from me for a little while.
you're a little
So
bit booked up.
sorry. But you know, The last one is funny because I feel like it's fitting for all four books that we've already talked about.
I know.
But the last thing is they want us to tell us about the last book you read that you couldn't stop thinking about. This is the one I'm most excited for to hear for you.
If you hadn't told me that yours were all male romance, I would have wondered if we might have had the same one. Because mine is The Trap by Catherine Ryan Howard. Like, so often I've thought of how impressive, like literally impressive. That's what like comes to mind. I'm like, holy shit, she pulled that off in a story.
Yeah.
Like that is what the ending left me feeling like. And so there've been multiple times where I'm like, God damn, what a story. So that's why it's been stuck in my head. The ending will blow your mind.
Oh my God. So good.
I feel pretty confident in saying that.
Mm-hmm.
But it is about a girl whose sister went missing a year ago. And she's like the third woman, it's in Ireland. She's the third woman to have disappeared in the last 3 years. And basically she wants to find out what happened to her sister is what she's trying to do. And then there's also a character who kind of like is a desk job worker in the missing persons unit, so we also kind of follow her starting to unravel what happened. But it is like you're in so many different point of views really, and you
Mm-hmm.
just, the way you like learn information, the pacing is really really great, and then the ending is just like blows your mind.
The ending featured something that I don't like in thrillers.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I'm so like, I wish we didn't go this route. And then
Mm-hmm.
she completely like did a U-turn. And I was
Yep.
like, this is the only way you could have told this story to make my jaw drop as much as you can. Like
Exactly. I had the
when
same progression of feelings.
yes, when you started talking about it, I was just like this, like
I
dreamily
saw,
looking at you,
yeah.
like that meme of Patrick from SpongeBob, where he's got like the
Yes.
hearts. But like I was just like, oh my God, yeah, yeah. There was a lot. Like I actually am glad that I picked the book that I picked for this
Mm-hmm.
because it did um inner like this one kind of hits all five for me, except for I didn't
Nice.
cry. But but like with mine, like I'm glad that I went the route that I went because if I would have went a thriller route, it would have been extremely hard for me to choose between like The Shards by Bret Easton Ellis,
Yeah.
the new Jessica Knoll, The Trap by
Mm-hmm.
Catherine Ryan Howard, and the new Ashley Winstead.
Yeah.
So like that would have been really rough. But
Mm-hmm.
I went my male route, and it was
Yeah.
actually Dysfunctional by Isabel Lucero. And oh my ever loving God, I still think about these characters. I actually have, she sent
Yeah.
me the novella. There's a novella after it,
Mm-hmm.
but I just like want so much more of them. And I think about them so much that I haven't read it yet because I'm like, I know that if I don't read it, there's still more that I can learn about my
Yeah.
boys.
Oh,
My boys.
keeping the hope alive.
Yeah. Because Ezra and Caspian are amazing. And this was my first male dark romance.
Yeah.
So it's like
It
very
was kind of
toxic.
the
Oh,
beginning of your new era.
oh yeah. Very toxic, very twisted, thriller, just amazing.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically about a man named Ezra who hasn't felt the warm spurt of blood beneath his fingers or the incredible feeling of pushing a knife deep into someone's flesh in a long time. But if you think he's dangerous, Ezra is actually stalking a man who is stalking women. And Ezra believes that this man, whose name is Caspian, is a serial killer. And what better way to like know someone's a serial killer than if you're a serial killer yourself?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like in the mountains, like blizzard, fucking snowstorm. killers everywhere, like man action, like just
Not hot outside.
it's not hot outside, but it is hot inside
Inside, if you know what
these
I mean.
covers, if you know what I mean. And I think, I don't know. Oh my God, it was just so freaking good. Like, I could not put it down. I still think about them. I still think about like all of the everything in this story was just like perfect for this
You,
audience of me. Like,
yeah,
very good. Dysfunctional Isabel Lucero. Love her. Love her. Love her. Love her. She's my girl. So
that's the best when you find something that really has just everything you love in a story.
yeah. Yeah. I also love when I find a new author like that. And you and I are very similar in the sense of like when we find an author that we like we will make like a list of their
Mm-hmm.
like backlist that we want to read. And like that's kind of what I'm doing with every author that I talked about tonight
Yeah,
is like looking at what books I want to read by them and like figuring out like how I can like find more stories like this. But yeah,
right.
it is definitely, definitely very exciting to find something like this that just hits all those sweet spots for you.
I know.
No
I
pun
know.
intended.
Yeah, that's how I feel with my with Emma Makepeace, who I mentioned earlier. I know I could read like 15 of those. Whoa, that's pretty.
South River University, it's the
I
author
love
of
that.
Dysfunctional. It's her omnibus. So it's like the four books in one, but it's
Oh,
campus
okay.
setting. But it's humongous and I just like my prized possession.
Oh my gosh, that is so cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
I'm
love that.
collecting. I'm gonna need
There
to
aren't tons of series that I read. Not
I fly
tons.
through these so much that they don't feel like series.
Right, right.
And I will say with male romance, they are very good at having like the like page like one page like chapter breaks. You know what I mean? Where it's
Mm,
like there's one blank page. So maybe that's why
uh,
I fly through them so quickly too.
yeah, maybe it is.
Because
That
they're
could be
like
it.
short chapters and all the boys are home.
You probably just love them. That's also part of it.
I just love
But
them.
maybe
Yeah.
it's the chapter pages.
I just love them. I can't put them down.
Yeah,
But yeah.
that's good though.
Who knows what male romances I'll be frantically texting you about next.
For real. I
Stay
know.
tuned.
I don't know. I don't know what I'm gonna read next. I haven't really thought about it yet.
I have it picked
We'll have to
out.
see what mood I'm in when I actually finish what I'm reading.
I think I know what you might end up, but I want to see if I'm right.
I will
Because I
tell
hope
you
to be
then.
right.